Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Get settled in. We're going to get started real quick here. Um, Go ahead if you are already in and getting settled into your space. We would love to just open up the chat and encourage you to share where you're calling in from and what brings you to our caregiver guidance tonight. Again, thank you so much for being here, and we will get started in just a moment. Hello, Montana. Oh, here they come. Yeah, thanks for letting us know where you're coming from today. And we would love to also, for those of you who are just joining in, we're just opening up the chat right now to share where you're joining from and what brings you to our conversation tonight. And we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. We will begin in just a moment. Feel free to just get settled into your space. Maybe take a breath, give yourself some kudos for just being here in this moment. And like I said, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from, what brings you to us tonight. I love seeing some of my favorite names in the chat. All right, friends, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for those of you who I have not yet met. My name is Kelly Petersohn, and I have yes, there we go. I have the honor of serving here at Aluna as the Camp Erin Online Program Manager. And I have been doing grief work with kids for about 15 years now and have learned just so much from the families that I've worked with through this time. I also have a wonderful friend and colleague, Sarah, who is joining with me tonight, and she's going to come on here in just a little bit and give us some um, really great information about how to get our hands on some really wonderful resources. So as we get started tonight, I am so excited about this opportunity because last November we hosted our first caregiver guidance, and we really focused in on the holidays and the winter season. And we got a lot of really great feedback that it was really helpful and that the information was timely, and they really loved the practical tips and tricks and stuff that we were sharing. And so we really are hoping to continue this. We hope that tonight you leave empowered and feel supported in navigating this kind of crazy season of transition and change. And as I said, we're really hoping to keep these kind of events going. So if you have suggestions about themes or topics that you would like to see us cover in these caregiver guidance webinars, we really encourage you to share those with us. You can do that in the chat, or you can share those in our quick evaluation that we will share at the end of our time together. All right. As always, I really love to start with just a very solid thank you. I know that for me as a mom, this is nothing short of a miracle that we are all here in this space, setting aside time, whether it's live or in the recording, to really focus in on you and your family. And I want to give you lots of credit and kudos because I know that that's a big deal. Um, Also, for me, man, this season is just really tricky. And I think that you being able to show up in this space is a really big deal. So, summer is supposed to be carefree and relaxed and full of fun. And yet, for me, it feels like what it really is a bunch of chaos and juggling and unsettledness and just kind of trying to rally and um, contain the rodeo around me. The kids are on vacation and they want to do all the things, but not necessarily the things that they need to do or maybe should be doing. And it just feels like this battle of keeping them busy, but so that they don't say, I'm bored, and they're not bickering with each other or driving me bananas. It's juggling all the things: camps, classes, play dates, childcare, sprinklers, sunscreen, plo pool floaties, bug sprays, water bottles, crafts, sports practices, laundry, farmers markets, houses, projects, vacations, snacks. All of those things. We're juggling all the things. And for some of us, we're also working. And so we're working and we're momming and we're parenting and we're caregiving and we're doing all the things and we're wearing all the hats, just trying to make sure that we're getting everything done. And then we're also talking about back to school. I mean, I know it's summer and we want to enjoy that piece of it too, but there's also this part of us that plans and tries to make sure that we have all the things that we're supposed to have for back to school. Some of you may be going into a school setting with your kiddos for the first time since a person died. That was really important to you. And some may be just hoping to make sure that the kids are still very supported and have what they need to navigate grief years after. So that's kind of where we were when we're talking about this particular activity or this particular event. Some of you might also be wondering, like, how do we make sure that the people at school know what happened and who needs to know and how can we support them at school? Sometimes it's questioning, like, how do I support my kid in having those conversations with people at school, with peers? And we also often are wondering, like, what can I do to make sure that I don't get swept up in the midst of all this change and transition and forget to spend time taking care of me, taking care of grief, taking care of our grief as a family, and most importantly, the connection that we have with one another as a family. Whew, that's a lot. And I know it's a lot, and I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, you are not alone, and we are going to kind of talk through some things tonight that I really hope are helpful in navigating this big transition season. Okay, we're going to dive right in with some new, refreshing ways to create time and space for connection and remembering. I want to say right up front that you will have access to all of these activities. I'm going to send an email after our time together. It'll probably come out on Monday, as well as we will make sure that during our time here tonight that you also know how to find these activities on our resource center. So we're going to have an opportunity for a demo. Make sure you know how to find them. So please just listen and sit and think about, okay, which one do I feel like is calling my name? Friends, the goal here is not for you to feel like you need to do all of these things on top of all those things that we were just talking about. The goal is for you to know where to find these activities and for you to really lean in to think about which one or two of these might feel right for me and my family in this season. And then to really create that intentionality to find the time and the space to make one or two of them happen. Okay, so that's the goal. That's where we're headed. So I'm going to tell you about some of these activities that we just put together and put on our resource center. Some of them are maybe some of my brand new favorites because they're just really new and different things to think about. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is the memory garden. And I love this one so much because it really is creating a dedicated outdoor space that provides opportunities for you to work together as a family, share stories, find connection, and honor the life and legacy of the person who died. So when you're thinking about a memory garden, you can think about some really meaningful things that you could put in your memory garden, whether it's itsy bitsy small in a little bucket on the back porch of your apartment, or it's in a big giant field. Like whatever works for you and your family. Think about what you could include that would be meaningful to you and your family, whether it's specific plants that they loved, or maybe it's sculptures or lanterns or wind chimes or pinwheels or bird houses. the list goes on and on about things that you could include that would be really meaningful. But ultimately, it's you choosing what feels right to you and your family. The goal is to really have a space that feels peaceful and there's serenity in the midst of the grief that you're experiencing. So that's Memory Garden. Next, probably have seen something similar to this. Kindness Rocks. I love this one. I actually have recently done this as a family myself, and I love the focus on kindness and gratitude for this. The research says that when we focus on kindness and gratitude, it really does improve our emotional resilience. It helps reduce the impact of grief, and it helps promote connection and hope, whether it's just within your own family or with the community that you are sharing these things with. So you could decide after you do these rocks whether you want to keep them and have them as kind of mementos around your house or garden or yard, or they could absolutely be something that you put in the community and leave little sweet notes and love notes around for other people to find as well. So it's a sweet opportunity to just bring some light and joy into your house, yard, family, or community. All right, the next one is memory cards. And the memory cards activity is kind of like a 2.0. There's a summer edition that we just put together. And if you aren't familiar with the first one I put together was a memory cards that was kind of like a get to know you. But the idea here is there are prompts that we have created that the child will ask of a grown-up who maybe knew their person well. So obviously this doesn't work for every single scenario or situation, but for those who are really trying to understand and maybe find those ways that they are like their person who died or just learn about stories, the memory card activity, the first one, is more like, what did they like to do for fun? Or what were some of their favorite colors? Or what were some things that you like to do together? This memory card summer edition is very much summer focused, with questions like, music, what kind of music did they listen to on long road trips? Or did they like to go to amusement parks or ride roller coasters? So those are some of the questions. The cool thing about this one is to think about maybe printing off the list of questions and cutting them out or leaving them in your car or whatever, and just having them available, in the car for like road trips or at the dinner table. There's lots of different ways that you can use this one. All right, the next one is this photo scavenger hunt, and I love this one so much. It's a really great opportunity for us to involve everyone in the family, and not only honor and remember the person who died, but also create some new memories as a family. And I think that this one really, it's kind of impossible to do it without some joy. And I think it's important for us to understand as caregivers, but also to help our kids to understand that really is okay for us to still experience joy and to have fun together as a family, even in the midst of grief. It's an and, it's grief and joy. It doesn't have to be either or. So some examples of the photo scavenger hunt that I really love are, taking a picture of something that is like a what's the word? Represents the person who died. Or maybe it's a picture of your family pretending to be rock stars. Or maybe it's taking a picture of something that's a seed that represents something small but mighty, something that is small and represents growth or new beginnings. So it's a little bit of symbolism, but also just super fun. Okay, here's the next one is a family vision board. For those of you who have done family vision boards before, you may be thinking, I don't know if I can do this with a family. But here's the thing. This one definitely is more involved, but it also can be really, really powerful. I think the important thing to keep in mind here is flexibility and just kind of allowing it to be whatever the kids and you decide that you feel like is helpful. So I did put together some questions about like some things that you might consider putting in your family vision board, like what what do we want life to look like now? What do we what do we want to really focus our attention on? What are some of the values that we really want to have shine through? So I put together a list of those prompts and have a handout for you that we will make sure you have access to. Another really cool thing to think about for this one is creating some sort of a dedication space on that family vision board. That's like, okay, this is the reason we're doing this family vision board, to allow this person to shine through us. I think that can be a really powerful way to help kids stay focused on those goals and values. You can include really special quotes that are important to you and your family. You can include things that bring you comfort or gratitude, things that you're grateful for. So lots of really great things. It doesn't have to be a one and done situation. You can start it and then keep adding to it. You can put it somewhere in your home that feels really meaningful and like a center spot for you that you can keep going back to. It's a really cool activity. Okay, next is meaningful messages. And friends, this is like a bonus activity because it's really 7 in 1. And the idea here is really creating an opportunity for some symbolic communication between the child and the person who died, or you and the person who died. So lots of opportunities here, including like blowing bubbles together and just really thinking and meditating on what messages you would want to include in those bubbles that are going to go off, right? Or skipping rocks together. You could have them write messages on the rocks and then skip rocks into the water. Another beautiful ceremony that we've seen done before is releasing flowers. Again, really holding a flower and meditating on what kind of message you would include. What kind of message would you want to pass on to that person who died, and thinking about putting it in that flower and releasing it onto the water. There's also some really great wish paper and water soluble paper that can create some cool opportunities here. My only suggestion is to practice them first before you actually do it as a family. So lesson learned. All right. This next one is called Forever Blended, and it is definitely one of our new favorites. When initially I created this activity, it was with Play-Doh, using Play-Doh, but we actually just did Floam, which is like those little styrofoam colored beads, I guess. And so you can do it with both, but I'm going to talk to you about this one like using the Floam because it just is a really cool activity. So the way you do this one is you have the kiddo pick out 2 colors, one that represents them and one that represents the person who died. And you have them pick out those colors and then you mix them together and you start talking about the things that you guys did together and the love that you share and the memories and the connections. And you say, wait, now separate them. And they look at you like, well, I can't. Well, that's right, you can't. And it's such a beautiful visual reminder to these kids and to grown-ups alike of that ongoing forever connection that we have with the person who died. Such a beautiful activity. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback on that one. Okay, lastly on this one is not necessarily an activity in the same way that the other ones were, but lots of activities. Again, a kind of multiple option here. For those of you who know me, you know that I love books. See all my books? I love books. I think books are such an incredible way to open up conversation with kids and create opportunities for conversation. And like there are so many out there, and kids really love being able to read a book that has language that helps validate what they're experiencing. It helps them to not feel so alone, not so isolated. Most of the time, these grief books are kind of a once removed grief experience. So typically it's like an animal who has experienced the death of somebody close to them. So that creates this space between them and the grief. And so they can talk about it differently. What do you think this particular animal is experiencing right now? Versus what are you experiencing? So that can be really helpful. If you're thinking, well, my kids are big, hey, you can engage the big kids even with little kid books by encouraging them, talking about, hey, I want to read this book with you. I want to read it to our younger sibling, but I want to get your thoughts first and see what you think that they like. Do you think they will like it? That's a good way to get them involved. Or it might be that you are thinking like, hey, this could be something that we could use. Like that we need to do a review for the author, like just be creative and get them engaged, because once you get them started, even the big kids really love to be read to. The other thing that I really love about books is that you can customize them. Even though the language in the book might be set, you can take liberties in changing the relationship, changing the type of loss. So if it's a book about a grandma who died and you have experienced, or your kiddos have experienced the death of a dad, you can really change that and those words in the book as you're reading it aloud, and help it to become a little bit more applicable to your situation. So please take the liberty to do that. I know that is something that we do in our grief groups, and something that we do as a family too when we're reading books. Another great activity to do while you're reading grief books for kids is to create kind of this like true for me card. I mean, it could literally just be a Post-it or a flashcard that says, hey, that's true for me, or links like connections. That way, if there is something in the book that you're reading that they feel extra connected to, they can say, hey, that's me. And that can be a really great way for you to understand what they're experiencing as well. All right, I went through all those activities, and I am so excited about getting them in the hands of those who can use them and share them. And I'm really excited for you to get them. And I'm really excited for Sarah to make sure that you know exactly how to find them. So Sarah's going to come on here, and she is going to show us the summer hub that we created, that is hopefully going to be something that you all go to, and I'm really excited for you to see this. So, Sarah, take it away, my friends.
Real quick, Kelly, before I jump in, we had a
Yes.
great question in the chat
Oh,
about
yes.
which activities teens kind of gravitate to. Do you want to speak to that first?
Yes, I love that. Teens. Oh, you know what? I think that the photo scavenger hunt is the one that comes to mind for me, because they could even use their phone. Like they could use their phone to take the pictures. You could challenge them to create a collage with those photos, do something really meaningful with them afterwards. The other one that comes to mind for me is the memory card one. I don't know where I heard it once, but it is so, so true that you can the car is a really magical really magical place, because kids are often more apt to talk in the car because they are facing forward and not looking straight at you. And so there's that like less pressure of eye contact and, oh, they're looking at my face. And so those memory card activities could be done in the car while we're driving around, getting them to all their places. And it could be a really great way to just learn about their grief, but also their memories with the person who died, and for you to share about the person who died as well.
Love that, Kelly. I so second that. And even the garden for nature, I know we've done this before in different times of loss in my life, and sometimes teens and young adults, when we're making a garden in nature or some way outdoors. I feel like that's a place that teens and young adults gravitate towards, I've noticed. And then you can also have them help with kind of planning it a little bit, like getting
Yes.
materials ahead of time and having some say about where you want to have the garden. Maybe it's a special place that person really loved to visit together. So they can be more part of the planning of it too, where younger kids might be just more showing up and helping to make the garden. So just a little tip there. But thank you so much, Kelly. These are so amazing.
Yes.
Um,
Let's show them where to find them.
let's
Yes.
do it. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to
Okay, I'm gonna stop.
share.
You're
Okay.
gonna take over.
Thank you. Okay. Let me go ahead, share my screen. All right, so I'm just going to share my whole screen, and then I'm going to jump over real quick to this wonderful summer resource hub that Kelly really created here for this event, just for all of you here in the room. So there was a QR code. We're going to provide you with a link directly to this summer resource hub with all of these wonderful activities that Kelly just went over to. So what's really great is that you can go, and if you really are interested, for example, in the photo scavenger hunt, you click on it, it will pop open and it will give you a whole objective, instructions, supplies, and each activity will actually come with its own printable activity handout, which is a nice, really kind of beautiful visual of the activity for all of our support professionals in the room. You might enjoy this. And then usually on the second page, there is an actual printout with some prompts. For this one, it's the photo scavenger hunt prompts on kind of some ideas of what to look for this activity. So this is all done by the amazing Kelly, beautiful author here and artist as well. So that's an example of what you can find here on the hub. And like Kelly said, just really, start small. What speaks to you? I know a lot of you have been sharing in the chat about different times of loss. Some are very recent, some might have been a long time ago. Grief doesn't have a timeline, so it's really up to you and feeling which activity I think really speaks to you and the ages of your kids, and just trying it out, So it never hurts to try something, I think, with kiddos. And the big summer reading list, right? We know this is really popular right now to think about what kind of books might be supporting my children through their grief at this time. So Kelly and I have really gone through all of our recommended book list and just highlighted just a few for each age group that we really have found to be wonderful for this age. So you can take a look, you can click on them here. It will take you right to the link where you can purchase the book. But of course, I always recommend going to your local library first to see if they have one of these there. So a lot of these books are just absolutely wonderful for a lot of reasons. And we tried to have some have a summer theme to them. Like some kids might attend summer camps and have some summer activities within the book itself. And others are just wonderful, absolute go-to books. So for our teens here, caregivers of teens in the room, here's the three that we decided to highlight for the summer, but there's a lot more out there. So this is just a starting place for you all. Caregivers in the room, we also highlighted our caregiver guidebook. This is actually a really wonderful, like 22-page printed book, color. It's welcoming, user-friendly, and it's a nice way for you. There it is, Kelly. She's highlighting it there. And we're actually going to do a giveaway of our caregiver guidebook at the end
We
of the
sure are.
tonight. So it is beautiful. It has some places for you to reflect as your role in a caregiver. It has some activities for you to do with the kids that you're taking care of. It has spaces for you to kind of meditate on a little bit, reflect just yourself and your role. It has a whole self-care section, which is essential for all of you in the room tonight. So it's a really nice kind of just soft, easy guidebook that you can go through at your own pace to think through kind of your role of being a caregiver and also taking care of the grieving kids and yourself. Of course, we have videos. These are some of my top 3 videos right now for the summer. Sesame Workshop has so many wonderful videos, but this is one we partner with them a lot that we have on our site for younger kids. How to help a grieving friend is good for all ages. And this creative expression video is great for all of you here if you do want to kind of lean into the arts, but you're maybe not maybe artistic that much yourself, like me with my child. So sometimes I need a little video, a little pointer, a little tip on how to even get an art project started. So this is for you if you're anything like me and need some help. And here we just have some good articles that I recommend, especially if you are going to one of our Camp Erin grief camps. This is a great article for how to care for your camper after camp. And if you keep going down, I really want to highlight here this back to school section. I heard a couple of you mentioning in the chat, thinking about school, what does that look like for my child? So these are some tips that are wonderful for educators, for your teachers to bring this back. Kelly will talk about that more soon, but I highly recommend that. And then also some support programs here. Of course, Camp Erin is our grief camp for children ages 6 to 17. We have camps all across the country that are free to attend. Camp Erin Online, of course, with Kelly's program. And then I myself work with the Aluna Resource Center. So here's links on this hub for everything you need. And last but not least, I do want to show you the resource library that is continuing to improve and evolve actually and get even better. But here we are. This is a place where you can come and just think about something that's on your mind, on your heart that you want to look for and see if we happen to have a resource for it. So for example, for my caregivers in the room, a lot of caregivers have been asking me lately, Sarah, my child is showing a lot of anger in their grief. And I say, well, we have a resource for that. So if you go to the keyword here, type in anger, you will see right here, we have this wonderful article on understanding anger and grief in children, right? And a few activities specific to that type of emotional and grief expression. Another thing I've been getting asked for is my child has autism and they're grieving. So you can put in that keyword and you will find articles or activities or support strategies for a child that's grieving with autism, right? If you're looking for teens, I heard teens in the room, you can type that in and you will find very specific articles or conversation starters for supporting the teens in your home. Okay, so I really invite you to try this out. Take it one step at a time, try the keyword here and see if there's anything that might speak to the children in your family, or if you're a support professional, to the families that you're supporting at this time. So with that, Kelly, I'm going to stop sharing and bring it back to you.
So I just went into the chat and my heart is so excited and warm because there's like some connections happening, and I'm loving that. And I'm loving the ideas that are being shared, and they're so wonderful. I saw a question from Kelly. Does Camp Erin ever do day programs? And what's really amazing is that Camp Erin, we at Aluna, we partner with organizations across the nation, and our Camp Erins have really expanded a lot. And so we do have some of our locations that are offering day programs, some that are offering the traditional youth overnight weekend camps, and some that are offering family camps as well. So I would just highly, highly, highly recommend that you go onto our website, which I bet Sarah is literally going to put in the chat right now, the Find Your Camp, and then just reaching in to that and looking for your location and finding out what that particular location is offering. Another way to find that information out is through our personalized support through the Aluna Resource Center as well. So if you're having any trouble navigating our resource center, if you're having any trouble navigating finding your camp, that is one of the things that Sarah and her team does so well, is making sure people know what's available to them in their local area as well as across the nation. So yes, loving this so much. Thank you so much for the connections and the interactions that are happening in the chat. All right, friends, as promised, I am going to share my screen again, and we are going to talk a little bit about this idea of going back to school. My hope is that you're feeling a little bit more confident and prepared for summer, to do maybe one or two of those activities. Share my screen right. Here we go. Yes. Sarah, let me know if that didn't come through. I think it did.
It's up. You're good.
All right. So we are going to talk a little bit about back to school. And I realize that for some of you, back to school is maybe several weeks or months away. Some of you just started summer vacation, and others of us have been on it for a while, and it's like, oh, it's coming up soon. Some of you are sending kids for the very first time since the person died. And some of you, as I said before, are really just hoping to make sure that the school is well informed, whether they change schools, have new teachers, new staff members. So I'm hoping that all the things that we talk about during this section are applicable to pretty much anyone who has kids in the school setting. So the first thing I want to make sure that we do is to let the school know. It is so incredibly important that we are informing the school of the big change that this kiddo may be experiencing, that what they might be showing in school. It helps the school, that then the school can really rally and support around you, to provide support to you and your family. So we want to make sure that the school knows who died, how the kids are navigating. Like, are they talking about it? Are they not talking about it at all? Do they need some help coming up with coping skills? All of those things. So I would just really super strongly encourage letting the school know. And helping the school to develop a team so that you don't have to do this alone. That team can include anyone that you and your child already have relationships with that could or are would potentially have relationships with. So it could be the teachers, it could be the specials teachers like music and art and the physical education teacher. It could be coaches or counselors, administrators. Even think about like the librarian or the nurse. Yes, the nurse. We know that kids who are grieving often have a lot of physical manifestations of grief. And so um, they are frequent flyers to the nurse sometimes. And that nurse can be somebody who can be a support person on your kid's team. What I want to make sure you know is that you don't have to do this alone. Allowing the school to know what's going on with your kiddo will help them to be able to create that team so that you don't have to do it alone. Now, that being said, I also think it's super important for us to identify a primary point of contact. So picking one person on that team that knows that they are the primary contact, that you give permission for them to share the information about whatever is going on with the whole team that you have come up with. It also will help to manage the information intake. Like if you're getting information from this and this and this and this and this, that can be super overwhelming. But if there's really that one point of contact, it does help feel a little less overwhelming. Um, but I love the idea of also just making sure that everybody knows they're part of the team of rallying around that kiddo. Also, make sure that you let them know what the best form of communication is for you. Like, are you easiest to find by text or call you on the phone or email or whatever? Like, what is it? What's going to get your attention the most when they really do need something? And that they can communicate with you and keep those lines of communication open. Oh, I don't know what just happened there. That was cool. All right. This slide is really specifically about how to support the kids that are in the schools. I just really encourage you to give some time to thinking about what your expectation is for your kiddos. Is it your expectation that the kids go to school every day, that they do their best, that they try to get there, and if they have the need for support or are feeling overwhelmed, these are the things that are in place for them to support them, and that you will, do your best to make sure that if they do need a mental health day, that is absolutely something that you can come to and on, but that ultimately our hope and we know that kids really do best when they have that the expected schedule. They know what's coming. They know what to expect. And so if we can get them back into the school consistently and really helping them to feel supported in their school setting, that can be the most beneficial place for them to be. So I would just encourage, okay, what are my expectations? Make sure I'm encouraging them with my expectations. Like I really want you to be there every single day and to show up and to do your best. And to know that you don't have to do it alone. Make sure they know that there is a team of people that are there to support them. Um, my friend Sarah talks a lot about the positive impact of a mentor. There's research out there that talks about how meaningful it is to have a person, an adult in a child's life outside of you as their primary caregiver, this is really able to tune in and listen and be on the lookout, kind of be a person of advice and able to give support and connection. There's so much research out there about how important it is to have a mentor and what role that mentor person could be. Again, this mentor it shouldn't be you. It should be someone outside of you, outside of maybe that like uh, family unit that could be an extended family member. It could be someone at your church or a sports or a music person, somebody that they feel connected to at school. But really just having an extra set of eyes, ears, a heart out for this particular kiddo. All right, then we talk a little bit about how to support the kids in answering the questions and sharing the information. Again, whether this is the year they're going back to school for the first time since the person died or they're meeting new friends, it's going to come up. And I think it's really important that we help them to navigate those conversations, help them to know what questions they might need to expect. Help them to know that people might say, "Hey, I'm really sorry, so and so passed away. I'm really sorry." Or, oh, they might come in and want all the details, like what happened? Or so really in letting them hear those questions ahead of time will help them to not feel so jarring when they hear them from people at school. And then helping them to really think through, like, how are they going to answer these questions? And a good old role play to practice that is really the best option. So you pretending with them, role playing with them, thinking through what they're going to say. I think this is a really great time to talk about boundaries and trust, that not everybody needs to have all of the information, that there are certain people that we can share more with, that those close support people or mentors or besties, that's different than a whole group of, just nosy kids who are just wanting the information. Like, I think it's really important that we give them permission to not share all of the details and to share what they feel comfortable sharing. So it might be, I'm really sorry that so and so died. And they might just need to say, yeah, thank you, and move on. Or they might need to say, yeah, thank you. I miss them a lot. And then be able to answer with a short response, but also be able to use school as a place where they're able to focus on school. Also, it's really, really important that we give them permission to say, I really would prefer not to talk about it right now. It doesn't have to be ugly. It doesn't have to be like rude. We can just say, I would really prefer not to talk about it right now. And I think that's important for us to model as well. But again, helping them to know who can they talk to, who can they share those details with, making sure that they know that they have a support system that they can talk to if they are interested in sharing more. All right, we touched on this a little bit, this idea of structure and routine, that we know that kids thrive in routine. They need to know what to expect. Even if they're kind of fighting it initially, like, I don't want to wake up at this time, or I don't want to go back to school, or I just can't do all this stuff, we know that it really is important for them to have structure and routine. So even if that structure and routine or that schedule is loose and it only includes like the top most important priorities of, this is when we're going to eat breakfast, this is when we're going to sleep, this is when we're going to remember to incorporate joy, and this is when we're going to take care of ourselves or focus on our grief. Being able to create a very loose schedule, both for summer as well as when we return to school, is so, so important. Flexibility is key in that. Like, we want to have the schedule, but know that there are going to be times that, hey, we have something else going on that we need to focus on. But if we have the schedule as a framework, that can be really helpful for a kid's brain. And then both for kids and grown-ups, a good to-do list of things that you know you need to get done. I know for me, I live on I have pads of paper that I write it out. I want it on paper. I want to be able to see it. I know some people use their phones. Some people use all kinds of apps nowadays that can help with these to-do lists. But a good old structured to-do list is helpful. And it also helps you to not feel like you're just getting stuck. Like, even the small things that you can put on the list and check them off, it's showing progress, and kind of creates that, like, I'm stuck moment. So good option there. This one is for the grown-ups. Also, this idea of, and a good way to practice role modeling for kids, of asking for support, being able to reach out to your people and the people who support you, and being able to say, hey, I'm having a really hard time getting this one particular thing done. Maybe it's something that they are like, hey, I've been wanting to do something to help you. Like, I'm so glad to have this opportunity to be able to say, oh, hey, I can go get groceries for you. Or hey, let me take a load of laundry and fold it for you. Being able to give people those options sometimes is really helpful for other people to know how to support you in your grief. You can also ask for a friend to be kind of an accountability partner. Hey, I really need to make this appointment. Can you keep asking me about it? Like, just help me to make sure it gets done. I think those are ways that we can ask for help. And oftentimes, like I said, the person who is being asked is kind of like, oh, good, I'm so glad I can do something to help. And then, goodness sake, grace upon grace. Man, this time, this season is really, really hard. It is full of transition, it's full of change, and just giving yourself grace and giving your kids grace and um, supporting them during that time and recognizing that it's hard for all of us to be able to navigate those changes, especially in the midst of grief. Oh, I went the wrong direction. Here we go. Family touch points. I love this. Um, what I want you to hear me say is I really encourage us all to create these regular family touch points. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour sit down face to face sitting at the table and we're talking about our grief and we're crying and we're holding hands and singing kumbaya. It doesn't have to be like that. What I'm asking is for you to think through, okay, we're going back to school or we're in the midst of summer and it's chaotic and it's crazy. And I don't want to miss the opportunity for us to slow down and remember to take time to take care of ourselves, our grief. And again, remembering that opportunity to connect as a family. So think about it for you and for your family. What is the best time for this to take place? What are the good places for this to take place? Think about where you've had meaningful conversations before. Is it at breakfast? Is it at dinner? Is it during those car rides from soccer to band to all the things? Is it before bed? I know some people get a little nervous about doing a grief check-in before bed, but goodness sake, we hear so often that that is the hardest time of day for our grief, especially for our kids. They go, they go, they go, they go, we go, we go, we go, we go, and we can kind of avoid our grief because of the busyness of what we're experiencing. But when we get to the point at bedtime, when our bodies are slow and we're starting to, get calm for the evening, it's like our brain just keeps going and it doesn't shut off, and our hearts are still feeling. And so that really can be a hard time. And so why not lean into that and check in during those times? Those can be really great opportunities to check in and say, hey, we have this, you know, Memorial Day that's coming up, Remembrance Day. We have a birthday that's coming up. What are you thinking and feeling? How can I support you? What can we do together to honor and remember? That those are great ways to open up the conversation. Um, I love these three that are on here, the start, stop, and continue. We have a resource for that. It really is an idea of thinking about what in this season do we want to start as a family? What is something that is on our hearts that we want to do extra? That's something new. What is something that is not serving us in this moment that we're going to stop? And what is something that's really meaningful that we want to continue? So that's a really great visual for kids. You can use a stoplight, which is kind of nice. I love the rosebud thorn approach where you have them identify something that's beautiful and life-giving in the moment. Maybe something that they see as potential or something that's coming that they're excited about as the bud. And the thorn, like the thing that's kind of just sticking out and hurting or providing some sort of pain for them or discomfort. High-low buffalo is what we do a lot in our grief groups, where we talk about the highlight of the day, maybe the low point of the day, and then something completely random or silly that just gives their world. All three of those are so meaningful and so great and so much better than how was your day today, where we can kind of get stuck with, oh, it was fine. So good things, and there are some visuals coming your way for that as well. That you could print off and put on your fridge, who knows, whatever is meaningful to you. Also, keep in mind that some family members might need something that's more nonverbal to indicate they are in need of a check-in. Maybe it's a family notebook that you keep together. This is really great for teens. for the families with teens in the room, having a family notebook that you leave out on the counter and, they can write like actual information in there, like, hey, today was such and such and it was really hard and or whatever. But it also could be an indicator that they just need a check-in. Like, hey, when you get a chance, can we talk? You can also do something similar with like a magnet on the fridge or a key phrase that you use as a family that just indicates, hey, I could really use a chat. But maybe they don't want to do it right there in that moment, but finding a time to schedule it and doing so intentionally. Again, the key here is intentionality and really being intentional about finding those meaningful touch points to get both each other, everyone in the family on your priority list, but also leaning into supporting your grief as a family on your priority list. All right. Goodness sake, it is time for us to start wrapping up. I know it says evaluation, which makes it sound like we're completely done. We're not. However, what I know to be true is that we have some people that might be needing to pop off early, and that's okay. And we know that life is busy and crazy. And as soon as we get done with our time today, you have a million of other things to do. And so I wanted to provide an opportunity for you to give us some feedback about our program tonight, but also some ideas and suggestions and themes that you'd like to see in a future online event like this. We would really love to hear from you. So we're going to take just a couple of minutes of our time here in this moment to ask you to scan that QR code. Um, I think Sarah is also going to put the link in the chat if you would prefer to do it that way. That is absolutely okay. You can click on the link in the chat. We really do want your feedback. We look at it, we read it, we lean into it, we think about, what we can build around it, but we also use your feedback to share with our funders to help them to understand what we're doing as well. So thank you so much for taking a moment here. But if you're able to stick around because I promised something exciting is coming next. So stick around, fill out your eval, and we'll be back with you in just a moment. All right, friends, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to work through our quick evaluation. If you weren't able to open it or get it complete, it will be available for you. We do really appreciate having that information. And without further ado, I have two more quick things. One being that we do have a couple of minutes for some question and answers. So if you want to put any questions in the chat, we may not be able to get to all of them, but if you have one that you want to talk through, please feel free to leave that in there. But I want to invite Sarah to come back on. Sarah, it's that time. So we have
Yes.
tried to give away some caregiver guidebooks in the past in a follow-up email, and we just haven't been able to do it. And so we really want to do a live giveaway. So I'm gonna pop this one over. There we go. Go for it, Sarah.
Okay, thank you so much, Kelly. Yes, we just are so excited to share these caregiver guidebooks out with you and just honoring, those of you that came. But we are limited, so if anyone has here a birthday coming up, I just the next few days, let's see, the end of June to the beginning of July, please put that in the chat and we will then follow up with you and we will be mailing you totally free of charge a caregiver guidebook. You don't even have to pay for shipping, it's all covered. So let's see, does anyone have a birthday from now until July 1st? Let's see, maybe not. We might have to extend it, Kelly.
Who's got it?
Oh,
Woo! I
Emily.
knew it.
Yes. Emily. Anyone else? Okay, let's do one more, Kelly. How about anyone in the month of July? Let's open it up. Any July birthdays? Let's see. Okay, Kelly. Yep. Okay.
Kelly was next. Yes, Kelly Grace is the
Absolutely.
little one that has a birthday on June 8th.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
we got a couple. We got
Love
a
it.
couple.
We got a good view. Okay, I love this. Okay. So I see some in here. So if you put your name in the chat, then we already have your email. So
Yes.
please look out for an email from me because I'm going to have to get your address to make sure we get the right address so I can ship that out to you directly to whatever address you prefer, and
Yeah.
you will
So
be
going by
CC'd
what
in
we
that.
just talked about, the next
Yes.
one would be June 30th, and then July 6th will
Mm-hmm.
be the next one, I believe. So awesome.
Yes.
Yay. So excited. Look for an email from us. We will reach out to get your information. Again, I want to open it up if there's any questions that you are hoping to learn tonight. If we got a couple of minutes, again, if you haven't filled out our evaluation and you want to jump in and get those evaluations done, we would be so grateful. But lastly, well, because I don't see any questions coming through, I would just love to encourage you to take a minute in this moment to set an intention for this season, whether it was something that stood out to you about summer or something that stood out to you about how you are um, preparing to go back to school. Please feel free to share one takeaway in the chat. So we want to encourage you in this moment to set an intention. What is one takeaway? What is one thing that you can do to really support you and your family in this season of transition and change? I'd love to hear it. I think it'll be encouraging for are, oh my gosh, you just had your last day of school today. Man, I've been on break forever. I'm already frazzled. But I would love to hear, and I think it's really super helpful for others to hear also what are some of those things that you're going to take away and use in our next few weeks of transition and change. And I see some questions coming through. Um, I love Meredith's suggestion here. Just, I think when our kiddos are either concerned that they're going to be made fun of, or you actually have an experience when your kiddo has been made fun of for that, I think just really helping them to eliminate any possible rumor conversation and just helping them to know that it's okay for them to not talk about it. They can say, "I prefer not to talk about it." You can help them with the words and what they do say. Meredith's comment here is really great, and unfortunately, kids are just really hard. Love them and encourage them that people just really are very uncomfortable with grief and they don't know how to deal with it. And so people, even well-intended people, say things that can be really hurtful, but they often are doing it out of love. And I love the suggestions in the chat as well. We have a couple of great resources on our resource center for this as well. Oh yeah, Sarah shared one. Great. Any other great takeaways that you're hoping to set a good intention right now in this moment? Feel free to share that. For those of you who are here tonight, thank you so much. For those that are catching the replay, thanks for doing that. And please feel free to share. We will have this recorded. You will get an email with a link to the recording. We would love for you to share it with others that you feel like it would be helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all that you're doing to take care of yourself and your family in your grief. Thank you so much, and we will be in touch soon. Have a great rest of your evening.